You know that feeling when you snag a cheap 55-inch LED off some clearance rack, only to sit down for movie night and realize the blacks look more like gray clouds and the colors feel washed out? I've been there, and that disappointment is what makes me pause before I hit buy now on any big screen TV. The question that keeps popping up in the comments sections and forums is simple: is there a size that actually feels worth it, or am I just buying a giant paperweight? That's why I spent a few evenings watching the same scene on a 65-inch and a 77-inch, reading through Samsung's tech brief, and digging into a handful of user forums to see if the hype around the new 77-inch OLED really translates into a smarter purchase. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the hesitation most people have. A 77-inch TV is a serious commitment. It's not just the price tag but also the space it needs, the mounting hardware, and the fact that you'll be looking at it for hours a day. If you've ever tried to fit a massive TV into a modest living room, you know the dance of furniture rearrangement, cable management, and the constant worry about glare from windows. On top of that, OLED panels have a reputation for possible burn-in if you leave static logos on for too long. Those concerns make the decision feel risky, especially when cheaper LED or QLED options promise good enough performance for a fraction of the cost. So, does Samsung's 77-inch OLED 4K S90F with Vision AI feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another premium price tag? The answer lies in how the TV behaves in everyday scenarios, not just in the spec sheet. Samsung's newest NQ4 AI Gen 3 processor is the brain behind what they call 4K AI Upscaling Pro. In plain English, it means that when you throw a 1080p sitcom or an old DVD into the mix, the TV spends a lot of processing power to add detail and sharpen edges, making the picture look surprisingly close to native 4K. I tested that with a couple of classic sitcom episodes that I still love, and the result was a noticeable reduction in pixelation without any artificial halo around the characters. For families who have a library of older shows, that upscaling actually feels like getting more life out of content you already own. The OLED panel itself is where the magic happens. Because each pixel can turn off completely, the blacks are truly black, which gives the image an immediate sense of depth. I watched a recent sci-fi thriller with a lot of nighttime cityscapes, and the contrast made the neon lights pop in a way a typical LED just can't match. HDR Plus on this model pushes the dynamic range a notch higher, so bright highlights retain detail while the shadows stay inky. For sports fans, the Xcelerator 144Hz combined with AI Motion Enhancer Pro kept fast-moving action smooth. I streamed a live soccer match, and even the rapid footwork and ball trajectory didn't leave the usual motion blur that cheap panels suffer from. The experience feels like you're sitting in the stadium rather than on a couch. Now, let's talk practicality. The TV ships with a 1-year extended protection plan from Samsung USA Authorized Service, which is a nice safety net if you're worried about panel issues during the first year. It also includes a Deco Gear Complete Home Theater Beginner's Guidebook, basically a step-by-step tutorial on setting up a soundbar, calibrating picture settings, and wiring your console. If you're the kind of person who has bought a TV before and ended up with a tangled mess of cables and a picture that looks like it's been filtered through a cheap Instagram filter, this guide is a genuine time saver. The smart platform feels responsive, and voice control works through both Bixby and Alexa, letting you switch inputs or launch Netflix without lifting a finger. However, there are trade-offs that matter once the box is out of the bag. First, the sheer size means you need a room where you can sit at least 810 feet away to appreciate the 77-inch without eye strain. If your living room is more of a studio apartment, the TV might dominate the space rather than complement it. Second, OLED panels, while delivering the best blacks, typically don't hit the same peak brightness numbers as high-end CLEDs. In a sun-filled room with large windows, you'll notice some loss of detail in very bright scenes unless you dim the lights. Third, the price point is still considerably higher than a 65-inch OLED or a 75-inch QLED, so the value proposition hinges on how much you'll actually use that extra screen real estate. If you mainly watch on a laptop or a tablet, the upgrade may feel unnecessary. Gaming is another slice of reality worth dissecting. The TV supports HDMI 2.1, but to fully exploit the 120Hz mode you need a next-gen console or a PC with a compatible GPU. I hooked up a PlayStation 5, enabled the game mode, and the input lag measured on a handheld.